Today's notes are a review of what we've done the past couple class periods with fractions. We will review how to add and subtract fractions as well as how to multiply and divide them. So first of all, adding and subtracting fractions. First thing you always need to do is change any mixed numbers. Mixed numbers, remember, are numbers that have a whole number as well as a fractional part. So if any of the numbers are like 1 2/3, we need to change that to an improper fraction. It is a mixed number. We need to change any mixed numbers that we have. That first step's always going to be true, whether you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. We always want to change mixed numbers to improper fractions. Adding and subtracting, we need a common denominator. The denominator, remember, is the bottom. So the denominator needs to be the same in both fractions. If they're not the same, we need to change them so they are the same. Once we have our equivalent fractions with a common denominator, we add across the top if we're adding, or if we're subtracting, we subtract across the top. The denominator, the bottom, stays the same because it's the same on both, because we got a common denominator, they should be the same, and then our answer has the same denominator. And then the last step will be the same no matter what we're doing, but we always need to completely simplify our answer. Our answer should be in simplest form. So those are the steps for adding and subtracting fractions. We want to change any mixed numbers to improper fractions. We need a common denominator. We need to write our equivalent fractions. We add or subtract across the numerator, the top. The denominator stays the same, and then we simplify. Generally speaking, multiplying and dividing are a little easier, but they are different. So multiplying, we again need to start by changing any mixed numbers. Change mixed numbers to improper fractions. When we multiply, we do not need common denominators, which is why it's a little bit easier. We just multiply across the top, and we multiply across the bottom. We don't have a common denominator that we're just going to leave the denominator the same. Even if the denominators are the same, we multiply across the bottom. And then, as always, we finish by simplifying. And to divide fractions, we change any mixed numbers. Again, we want improper fractions. And then we multiply by the reciprocal. Multiply by the reciprocal. That's what we call keep, change, flip. So if I had like 2/3 divided by 3/4, I would rewrite that keep, stays the same. Change, instead of dividing, we're multiplying. Flip, instead of 3/4, it is now 4/3. Because we are now multiplying, now you would go back and you would complete the multiplying steps. We should have already taken care of that, but then now we're going to multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and simplify. So because we are now multiplying, you do the multiply steps. So like for this example, we do 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 3 is 9. Simplify if you can. 8 and 9 have no common factors other than 1, so it can't be simplified. And I didn't put it up here. After you multiply by the reciprocal, it's on this multiply list here, but I'm going to put it here as well. Simplify it here as well. You always want to end by simplifying. So let's do a couple example problems. Example 1 says 2/5 plus 1/15. 2/5 plus 1/15. It looks like we're adding. So when we add We first need to look for any mixed numbers. I don't have any. These are both just fractions without a whole number out front. So I don't need to change to improper fractions. We do need a common denominator if I add or subtract. So 5 and 15, we want the least common multiple between 5 and 15. Might be able to just think about it and come up with it. If not, we can list out the factors of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And the factors of 15 until we find one that matches. Well, the first one's 15, and that was on this list here. 15 is the least common multiple. So that's what I want to make both of my denominators. We do need to write the equivalent fractions. So I made 5 into 15. I multiplied this times 3. So I need to multiply the top by 3 as well. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6. Here my denominator was already 15. I didn't change it, so I don't need to change the top. It stays as a 1. We add across the top. 6 plus 1 is 7. The denominators were the same. I keep it the same. I have 6 15ths, and I am adding one more 15th, so I have a total of 7 15ths. Simplify if you can. The only thing that multiplies to 7 is 1 times 7. 15 is not divisible by 7. The only common factor here is 1. So we're finished. 7 over 15 is correct. Number 2 says 3/4 minus 2/3. 3/4 minus 2/3. Again, we have no mixed numbers. We don't need to change to improper fractions. We need a common denominator between 3 and 4. Again, I'm going to list out the factors, but you might be able to figure it out without doing it. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 4 is 12, plus 4 is 16, plus 4 is 20, plus 4 is 24. Factors of 3, I'm just listing them until I see one up here. Start with 3, plus 3 is 6, is not up here. Plus 3 is 9, is not up here. Plus 3 is 12, is up here. There's my least common multiple, is 12. That is going to be the denominator on both. Again, we only need a common denominator if we are adding or subtracting. We want to think through, what did I multiply 4 by to get 12? 4 times 3 gives me 12, so I need to multiply the top times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times what is 12? 3 times 4. So I need to multiply the top times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Adding and subtracting. We subtract across the top. 9 minus 8 is 1. We keep the bottom the same. 1 over 12. Again, does not reduce. Number 3 asks us to multiply 3/5 times 2 over 9. 3/5 times 2 over 9. Looks like we're multiplying. When we multiply, we don't need a common denominator. That's good. That makes it a little easier. I don't have any mixed numbers, so I don't need to change to improper fractions. We just multiply across the top. 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 9 is 45. And then we want to simplify if we can. 6 and 45. Anything I can divide those both by? Well, 6 is divisible by 2 because it's an even number, but 45 is not because it's odd. 6 is divisible by 3, as is 45. So divide them both by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 45 divided by 3 is 15. Only factors of 2 are 1 and 2. 15 is not divisible by 2 because it's odd. We are finished. 2 over 15 is correct. And last problem, example 4, asks us to take 2 2/5 and divide by 1 over 30. 2 2/5 divided by 1 over 30. First thing I would notice is this time I do have a mixed number. So if I have a mixed number, we need to change that to an improper fraction. Quick review of how to do that. We'd take 5 times 2 is 10, and then we add the numerator. Again, it's denominator times whole number plus numerator. That is the new numerator, and the denominator stays the same, it's 5. So all I did here on this first step was change any mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now I should recognize I'm dividing. When we divide, that's when we keep, change, flip, keep. 12 over 5, change to times, flip to 30 over 1. Now we have a multiplication problem. When we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across. We have 12 times 30. So times 30, I've got my 0. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 times 1 is 3, 360. 5 times 1 is 5. Now I have 360 divided by 5. Because 360 ends in a 0, I know it's divisible by 5, so it's going to come out even. So let's go ahead and divide 360 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 3. 5 goes into 36 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. Leaving me 1, bring down the 0. 5 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 5 is 10, and I get a remainder of 0, which I knew I was going to get because it should come out even here. I get 72. So if when you divide, if it just comes out even, just go ahead and divide it out. That is it for today's notes. We will get into the online work from here.